Hi there, folks. Today we're going to be taking a trip into the grimdark expanse of my childhood gaming experience. We'll be delving into the world of Sanctuary. That's right, we'll be reviewing the Diablo series from Blizzard Software. We'll be delving back to the time when 3D isometric graphics were a thing, and advanced technology that allowed us to not only play the game on our own, but over the internet with our friends. Now, as I've said before, this is going to be a PG-13 review. We could sit here all day picking apart the occult and trying to figure out what everybody has as a thing that's wrong with the game. I personally find it fun, and there are plenty of people in the Brony community who have played the Diablo series. Even Equestria Daily at one point had managed to have a header series when Diablo 3 had come out. Overall, I'm pretty sure it's just personal preference when it comes to the person's liking or disliking of this genre. Now I'm going to go a little bit over the classes, and then I want to talk about lore. So let's go over these things. There were 3 classes in the game: the Sorcerer, the Warrior, and the Rogue. The first class was the Sorcerer. This character was able to use high-end magic and had a low health pool. They could recharge staves, but at the price of having the charges of the staff go down each time they did it themselves. Good in a pinch, but not as good as getting it recharged outside of town. The second class was the Warrior. High strength, high health, but low magic. You could stand toe-to-toe with most creatures and use some of the heavier weapons early on in the game. This character was good as an overall character. He also had the ability to repair items in the dungeon. However, this meant that their durability would overall be lowered more and more as he did so, as it was to represent that he would be quick patching items rather than going through it with a proper forge. The last character is the Rogue. She was the ranged dexterity character that was able to pick things off at distance with a bow. She also had the ability to disarm traps. Those were seldom found, usually inside the dungeon in the form of a barrel or a chest that would either explode or have a spell go off. As it didn't happen that often, well, the ability was quite useful, but then again, all of the abilities that the characters had were balanced in a way that made them somewhat useful, but never put them above the other characters. Now, here comes the fun part. I get to talk a little bit about lore to help you get an idea of what it was like back when this game was released. Now imagine you had seen this game inside the store, and you had heard great things about it. However, you had to beg your parents to get it because a giant demonic face was staring out at people from the box. I mean, look at this thing. Look at it. It was both awesome and scary. It was the kind of thing that would give you nightmares if you were to stare at it. But that was what Blizzard Software was going for at the time. They wanted an edgy game, something that was less than child-friendly. And I think they succeeded when it came to understanding that there was no doubt you'd be facing El Diablo himself when you were going into this game. It wasn't some dragon, it wasn't some fantasy character, it wasn't the Ultima series where you would be fighting the floor. This was for keeps. You would be fighting to win against a prime evil, a source of all that would be hatred and death and destruction, and it had to put that point across. Because when you think about it in that perspective, your accomplishments meant that much more, and the immersion of the game was that much greater. Now, eventually you pick up this game. You go home. You install it on your computer. Your parents ask you, "Is this going to make my computer possessed?" You tell them, "No, it's not." And then this sucker shows up and goes, "I hate to say it, but that scared the crap out of me when I first installed the game. And it also made me second guess if the thing was actually haunted." Great job, Blizzard! So at this point, you've managed to install the game, and you find that you're by yourself in the middle of a town known as Tristram that had been damned, full of demons and death, and only several of the villagers had managed to actually survive. You wander about the town, finding even the broken shell of a man known as Barnum drunk in the corner, completely a shell of his former self after having watched the king's son and the rest of his men be dragged down into the cathedral. You find out from the locals that none of them have the choice to leave at this point. This is their home, and that you are tasked to go and find what had wronged inside the chapel. The Archbishop Lazarus had managed to betray the people of Tristram, taking the king's youngest son into the dungeon. You find a dying man on the outside of the cathedral. He seems to be on his last breath. And as he imparts the wisdom to you of what had happened inside the cathedral's first floors, you swear to avenge his death. And then you make your way into the dungeon. All of this happens before you even raise your sword. And the immersion, the amount of quality, the voice acting that was actually put into this game, they put a lot of effort into it. I found myself immersed, sitting on the edge of my seat, trying to figure out what had happened to these people. And this is what Blizzard is good at. Telling a good story, and knowing how to draw somebody in. Next time on Ponies Playing Games, the Diablo Retrospective, we'll be exploring the gameplay of Diablo 1. This is Deckard Spade, hoping that next time you'll stay a while and listen.